Disney are counting their lucky stars that families and furries came out in full force for Zootopia 2, and they are biting their proverbial fingernails in the hopes that the same audience will come out in droves and make Avatar Fire and Ash a hit as well, because they don't have much else going for them. Hype for Avengers Doomsday is virtually non-existent, and that may be the most expensive movie ever made. Behind the scenes though, Disney are even more worried about Star Wars, and we got an exclusive scoop breaking down that they're already prepping contingencies for the event that the next batch of Star Wars movies currently in the works should fail. Those being Mando and Grogu, as well as Star Wars Starfighter, the Ryan Gosling movie. Before we get to the exclusive scoop about that though, let's begin with revisiting the perhaps greatest humiliating failure in Star Wars history, namely the Acolyte. And to those who would interject that surely it was The Last Jedi that was that, I would say that yes, now it is self-evident that The Last Jedi was indeed the turning point where Star Wars was broken beyond all repair, but not everyone recognized that upon its release. On the contrary, the Hollywood trade treated that movie as a milestone and a cinematic achievement, and it arguably was that, just not in the way that they thought. Still not yet realizing that the movie had irrevocably broken the franchise, praise was heaped upon it and director Ryan Johnson, who was awarded for his achievement by being given a Star Wars trilogy all of his own, a trilogy that would never happen. And anyone critical of the movie, for any reason at all, were gaslit and labeled as racists, misogynists, and toxic fans. They were because uncomfortable truths always passes through 3 stages. First, it is ridiculed, and that's what happened there. Then it's violently opposed, which would be when critical fans were dehumanized altogether and dismissed as Russian bots aimed at destabilizing, quote-unquote, our democracy. And then, when reality can no longer be ignored, it is accepted as self-evident that The Last Jedi broke Star Wars. Now everyone knows it and pretends that they always did. However, Kathleen Kennedy and her acolytes at Lucasfilm, including showrunner Leslie Headland, believed all could be salvaged and the fans won back over to the new female-centric direction of Star Wars with The Acolyte. The perhaps wokest production that has ever woked in all of wokedom. It is certainly a contender for the pole position. Yet, unlike The Last Jedi, it was humiliated immediately upon release, despite Disney doing everything they could to build it up. They heavily promoted the girl bosses and queerness of it all up front. And after the fans rejected it, both Disney marketing and the stars attacked the built-in fanbase. Amandla Stenberg even did a diss track taking on the fans directly. I mean, what more could a current year studio and production team have done? Still, despite their best efforts, the vast majority of the few remaining fans that even checked it out hated it, and despite a reasonably strong start with critics, most of them turned on it as well as more and more episodes were released. Even Grace Randolph, who loved it at the start, but came out of the last episode hating it.
Aw, man! That was embarrassing. It was real embarrassing. It was embarrassing for everybody in the show, embarrassing for everybody who makes the show, and, perhaps worst of all, embarrassing for all of us who have, up to this point, enjoyed the show, supported, and defended it.
The response was so poor right away, and viewership so bad that Disney decided to scrap not just Season 2, but the spin-off movies and the spin-off series that The Acolyte had been intended to kickstart after serving as a backdoor pilot for. You see, The Acolyte was meant to reshape the future of Star Wars in the image of Kathleen Kennedy and her apprentice Leslie Headland, who would have been an instant power player in Hollywood and guaranteed a high-paying job in Star Wars for years to come if things had worked out. But instead, it ended with massive humiliation for everyone involved, as Season 2 was publicly cancelled. Leslie Headland did not say much about it at the time, probably because she was busy melting down behind the scenes, but she did speak out more recently, telling The Wrap that she fully intended on staying woke and producing woke content, as diverse stories are her jam. That article is behind the paywall, but Cosmic Book News did a write-up on it, and more specifically on her thoughts on the Acolyte, now that some time has passed since its cancellation. The write-up reads, "Interestingly, Headland also pointed out the show wasn't for most fans. I feel like for a launch of a first season show that was trying different things, I think it could have been worth it to allow the audience it was meant for to find it. But that wasn't up to me, so I fully respect the decision, even if I'm sad about it." To which I would interject, the modern audience that the series was made for did find it, and maybe they even all saw it. Problem is that they are so few and outside of LA so far between that they would hardly make a blip in the ratings. So spending multiple hundreds of millions of dollars on a series for that audience is sheer lunacy. I mean, the subversive feminist retelling of Conan the Barbarian, simply retitled She is Conan, was made for the literal exact same audience as The Acolyte. Only it was made for peanuts, and yet it still lost money by all outwardly accounts. In other words, Headland made The Acolyte for a minuscule niche audience instead of the built-in audience, which ties in to what she had to say about them and content creators that cater to them, as the write-up continues. She claims some content creators are honest, while some are snake oil salesmen and fascists and racists. Her argument isn't that the show failed creatively. No, that would have made it her fault. Instead, it's that an online ecosystem seized on it for profit. She describes the fan-critic world as a business model that feeds off Star Wars content, insisting that the commentary around the franchise may now have more cultural impact than the franchise itself. While I maintain that the negative coverage of The Acolyte is entirely organic because it was that god-awful, she has a point about fan commentary now being more influential than the official Star Wars content that commentary is about, and that it is a testament to how badly Star Wars has been damaged under Kathleen Kennedy, as well as how badly The Acolyte compounded the damage and further hurt the brand. And this brings us to our scoop, which actually comes from WDW Pro. You may hear it here first, but all props to him. There hasn't been a Star Wars movie in theaters for 6 years now, and needless to say, Disney did not buy Lucasfilm for it to sit theatrically dormant for that long. But given the unpopularity of the sequel trilogy, they had little choice in the matter. Now though, there are 2 theatrical movies in the works, in the guise of The Mandalorian and Grogu, as well as Starfighter, starring Ryan Gosling. After the shockingly bad Season 3 of The Mandalorian, many are expecting Mando and Grogu to fail in theaters, which is why there is more excitement towards Starfighter, a brand new project from the director of Deadpool and Wolverine, of which not much is known, only that it features brand new characters and stories, is unconnected to the Star Wars saga, and as such represents a new beginning. In other words, this is the kind of story there should be internal excitement about within the studio, the way that there was prior to the release of The Acolyte. But instead, what we are hearing is that they're working on contingencies in case both Mando and Grogu as well as Starfighter fails. Usually, you plan on success and on which new content to put out that can build on that projected success. But in this case, contingencies are in place for the event of failure, which, if we're honest, is a very likely outcome here, so good thing they have contingencies in place. But what are those contingencies, if both upcoming movies fail? Well, first remember that Kathleen Kennedy is mostly a figurehead at this point. Dave Filoni is the chief creative officer and therefore the one most responsible for calling the creative shots. According to the source, Filoni's plan then, in the case of both Mando and Grogu and Starfighter failing, is to do a new era with new characters, which for all we know, Starfighter may already be doing. So here's the twist. A new era with new characters that will appeal in Asian markets. If this scoop is accurate, then to me, that means Star Wars is on its last leg right now. And if the current batch of movies don't work, they'll give up on their remaining extant and built-in audience altogether, and instead gamble on a brand new Asian audience that never cared about Star Wars before, and hope that they will bail Disney out. Let me know right now how impressed you are with that plan in the comments. Do you see anything wrong with it, mayhaps? As for me, I think that plan is so bad that if indeed this scoop is accurate, Filoni needs to be fired for it, because to me at least, it seems obvious that the way to save Star Wars is to bring back the original built-in audience. Not hope that some random new audience is going to spring out of the woodwork now, years after The Force Awakens was unleashed upon the entire world. I mean, that's the exact same pattern of thinking that Leslie Headland displayed. But this is just a contingency, and even if both movies should fail, it doesn't have to turn out that way. Because Disney would have to believe that Filoni is the right man for the job before committing to any vision of his. And for all we know, they might not be too interested in what Kathleen Kennedy's apprentice has to say. As long-time watchers may recall, back when Filoni was promoted to his current position in the first place, our good friend and industry insider script doctor pointed out that such a position actually made him easier to fire if they ever need a scapegoat. Either way, all of this does seem to suggest that Star Wars may be on its last leg, and rather than bringing it back from the brink, their plan appears to be to practically push it over the edge, leaving other companies and franchises the chance to pick up the ball after Disney dropped it in such an epochal fashion, and others are indeed waiting to do just that. Epic and mythological storytelling, like both Star Wars and Game of Thrones fall under, used to be something only the major players in Hollywood could do and have it look right. But now, the Daily Wire are giving them a run for their money with the Pendragon Cycle, Rise of the Merlin, based on the historical fantasy books by Stephen R. Lawhead, which are inspired by Arthurian legend. The series premieres on Daily Wire Plus on January 22nd, and the full trailer is out. Here is the guys and me reacting to the first look. So, gentlemen, with that, let us do our very first reaction to the Pendragon Cycle, Rise of the Merlin. And this is certainly the first time I see the trailer.
Great darkness is falling upon this land. These brothers are our only hope to stand against it.
Not our only hope.
We need you, Merlin.
Merlin was a myth before our father was even born.
Merlin slew 70 men with his own hands.
No man is capable of such a thing.
The mortal man.
The Pendragon Cycle, Rise of the Merlin, premieres January 22nd, only on Daily Wire Plus.
Wow, there we go. We got our first look at the Pendragon Cycle, The Rise of Merlin, a new series coming on Daily Wire Plus. So, Chris, what was your first reaction to this?
Looks far better than Rings of Power. I will say that for it, for sure. I want to see.
Yeah, it looks like the money that they supposedly spent on Rings of Power went here instead.
Yeah,
I give you that. Yeah, this definitely has like a prestige HBO Max type feel to it. Yeah,
Game of Thrones sort of thing, or that David House of David miniseries that's over on the other platforms, Amazon. Yeah, this looks good.
House of Dragon.
So this is what I love. I love sword fights in the snow. Snow falling. That's cool, man. Reminds me of like, a gladiator or maybe, like the samurai in the snow.
Kill Bill.
But, yeah, Kill Bill. Exactly. I was thinking, that looks cool. That looks really cool in this. I also really dug the look of Merlin. Got that very Christopher Lee feel from Sauron. But I'm in 7 parts. That means we're gonna get a lot.
And I have to say, I'm impressed with how incredibly good it looks, because this was the Daily Wire. I was expecting something that looked a little bit more like Red Sonja, where you could tell the budget, but this looks more Game of Thrones-ish. I mean, Rings of Power wish it looked this good, and probably the fans wished the Rings of Power was this authentic, because they look to take this quite seriously.
Yeah, this looks like the sword and sorcery type of show to look forward to, and as everybody knows, we're huge fans of that genre here because of Conan and other things like that. So Looking
this
forward
is
to this.
based
This might
on
be
a
good.
series. Yeah, this is a series of novels this is based on, so they're not just winging it. They've got some guy
Like certain other shows.
Exactly. Yeah.
Indeed. Yeah. No, this looks very good. I look forward to following this much more closely. And meanwhile, all of you guys should check out the trailer in the description.
What do you think about that? Does it look like Hollywood is suddenly under threat in this regard as well? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and so you can judge properly, check out the full trailer for the Pendragon Cycle in the description and pinned comment.